You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. Your host this week is Tristra Newyear Yeager, Chief Strategy Officer at Rock Paper Scissors, the PR firm that specializes in music innovation and music technology.
Hey everyone, I'm talking today to Kim Bingham, who is the founder and CEO of Mostrodarte. Did I get that right? Are you CEO, Kim?
I am. I'm founder and CEO of my proud baby, Mostrodarte.
Mostrodarte. There we go. And it's an art monster, correct?
Yeah, Mostrodarte is the art monster. Absolutely.
All of us need more art monsters in our lives. So before we talk more about Mostrodarte, I would love to talk to you about your background because it's absolutely fascinating. So you started off as an artist, and more specifically, and I hope I'm getting this right, you started off in ska. Tell me more.
Yeah, so that was actually that was the beginnings of my musical journey in college. And so me, Mom, and Morgenthaler is at the roots of my musical journey. So that was the name of the ska band that I helped to form in Montreal out of school. And we quickly, over the time that the band was in existence, which was pretty much like from the late 80s until the mid 90s. I know I'm aging myself here, but I am a very proud, vital, vibrant Gen Xer. I wear that label
Same.
proudly. And so, yeah, we became basically a hot ticket as a live band, sort of in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Fishbone sort of way. And along our journey, became a legendary live band as voted top band in Montreal for years and years and years in a row. And basically, we have a kind of like a cult status in our hometown. So that was the start. I left the band to pursue my independent career under the alias Mud Girl, and that was sort of my grunge, sort of the grunge era, Kim Bingham phase. And that was sort of when I got really introduced to the larger music industry. Labels were interested in signing me out of the US and out of Canada. And that led to me touring in the US as part of a all-female tour called Lilith Fair. I mean, I'm really going back now, but
This is great.
yeah, it was good times. And I mean, I feel like it's yesterday. And yeah, and so I've had the experience of like being the artist courted by the major labels, meeting all the top people at the time, whether they were like, my lawyer was like Radiohead and Nirvana's lawyer, and I met with the people that work with Katy Perry and Alanis Morissette and all of that, and I stayed happily independent actually. In the end, which is
Can I ask you,
yeah.
how was that decision-making process for you? Were you just did you have this sort of intuitive feeling like this is the direction I need to go? I need to steer my own ship? Or were there some events or conversations that helped you understand, I think I need to have control of this? Like, what was that decision-making process like?
Well, I mean, it was a super exciting time. Obviously, it's always great, when everybody wants you, like Jimmy Squire used to sing. But then I'd talk to my friends, musicians who were signed, and they just seemed really unhappy.
Oh man,
So,
nothing worse than getting what
so
you want sometimes.
yeah, like they felt like they were misunderstood, and they're sort of like, and then the rights that you give up. I am a person who have always read the fine print on everything. So, understanding what you're giving up. When you started off independent, I started off in a DIY, basically punk ska band. Like I was like, punk rock DIY. That was me, Mom, Morgenthaler, and my ska roots were all that. And so, when you know that you're going to be giving up a lot of your rights signing to a label, and yet the other path as a DIY artist, and at that time being a DIY indie artist was still like a really viable financial career. When you knew that the attention was on you, it's like, well, why do I need to sign all my rights away when I can fill a club and like tour and pack clubs myself and sell, it was CDs at the time. So it wasn't actually a hard decision. And I mean, I've stayed happily independent ever since. I've collaborated with labels, having my albums, certain records that I've done licensed to major labels, and that's great. I'm glad that I stayed independent.
That's really fantastic. Thanks for sharing that history with us. It's also, I mean, if I may be so bold, I think as a woman, it's a delicate decision to make sometimes because there are many people who have ideas of how women should be, and you have your own idea. And just some of the management you mentioned makes me think, that would be an interesting study in contrast if you're coming from a very outspoken world. Like I know some other really powerful female ska voices that, were very uncompromising in their statement of who they were and what they were going to do. And I could just see compared to some of the other models of feminine being in the music industry, that could really stand out as like, wow, this is different than how I see myself.
Yeah, well, I would say that I don't know that I necessarily I didn't have any kind of negative experience as far as my the way that I was perceived in the music industry. The fact that I was with the management company at the time is called Network Management.
Mm-hmm.
Who I know that they've managed Coldplay, Avril Lavigne, and at the time they were managing Sarah McLachlan, and I was invited to be a part of a big tour that she was putting together of all women artists. So it was like Jewel, Sheryl Crow, Tracy
Mm-hmm.
Chapman, and so that I was already I felt sort of appreciated as a female artist, and so I didn't feel like there was any that I was being misperceived in any way. That's actually something I've been very fortunate about. I think that might have something to do with the fact that I came out of sort of the grunge rock
Mm-hmm.
scene after the ska scene of Mima Morgenthaler and being part of the punk rock DIY scene. Women are pretty, you like, you're a rock chick, like you're pretty, you got, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not, there's no pop wave thing going on and that kind of stuff too. But I have to say, later on in my career, when I did work with Nelly Furtado as her guitar player and backup singer, I did see how hard, and if we're talking about pop waves, which I wouldn't put Nelly in that category.
Yeah.
I think that she's a fabulous artist. I'd just say, she's an international pop star because she works her butt off.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. It's actually exciting to hear a story that differs from what many assume is the norm, and it's a great example of how women like you are cutting their own path. That's really exciting.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm the COO of Embody Me. We are a French company. We are specialized in human-computer interface, but our background has been in music for 10 years, and we always wanted to develop the most expressive instrument, and so 2 years ago we launched Array Touch, which is this expressive MIDI interface, and we all about customization. We wanted the instrument to be super versatile.
And here in the booth, we have I see a number of these pads, and each of them has a different arrangement of colored tiles and bars and blocks. Is that the kind of customization you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So for NAMM, we made a special version where we assemble 9 controllers together. But really, this tool, this controller, this instrument can be super really versatile in a way that you can have up to 16 different layouts. A layout being just a scene, a visual that can hold like a grid, a keyboard, or faders elements. There's a software that comes with the hardware that allows to create your own interface. It's really about building and customizing your own interface the way you need it, whether you're in the studio and you're more like a composer or sound designer and you need to work on the expressivity and push the expressivity of your creation forward. But it's also super brightful. You can customize the color, the animation, and on stage it really looks,
So
great.
it can really become part of the performance.
Yeah.
Wow. What were you hoping to gain from coming to NAMM this year?
Well, obviously connection. We started and launched the product on Kickstarter 2 years ago. It's been really successful since, but obviously, like many consumer electronic company, we had issues with the supplies.
Oh, of course.
Even more as a startup. But now we're ready. We finally are stock, and so we've sold about 1,000 units of this product. But now we're ready to expand, and we in the US being our big market, we only have a great store in the US, which is Perfect Circuits.
Oh,
But we're looking to expand, find more store,
hearing
more
about
distributor worldwide, and expand and connect with obviously musicians.
What's the most exciting thing that's happened at NAMM to date?
A lot of stuff. Well, actually, yesterday we had the visit of a customer, which I didn't know was the film composer for Avatar.
What?
So I was quite. I sent that to all the team in France. They were super excited, knowing that our instrument was used to make the biggest film score for last year, maybe.
Wow.
So that's cool. Exciting to know that the tool you spent like 5 years developing is being used by amazing artists like that.
That is a great story.
Really cool, yeah.
So, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And now back to the show.
Well, so you had this incredible career as an artist. How did you start thinking that you might be drawn to a different kind of creativity or other activities into entrepreneurship, running your own company? Like, how did that begin?
I think that's creating Mostrodarte and wanting to form this startup is really a natural evolution of being an independent artist and having my own quote unquote indie label that was putting out my records, managing the budgets, putting together the tours, doing the production, all that. And so when I decided I put the startup together, that was really I came up with the idea a few years ago about the business model for the company, and it just so happened in the last couple of years it was just the right time for me to start building this out. I think with the appearance of the blockchain in everyone's lives, or for a lot of people anyway, and then after that, music NFTs, I think there's a huge opportunity to basically redesign the music industry and the way that independent artists work. That really that we all need to grab onto and take advantage of. So that's really it. It was just sort of the time was right for this. And it's a natural outgrowth of what I've been doing for a long time now.
Cool. So let's talk for a minute about the business model. Where did you start in terms of thinking about it, and how did it all pan out? So maybe tell me about your initial idea and how you're thinking about structuring the business and why, and then how maybe that evolved over time, because as we build a company, things always change and get sorted out in slightly different ways, but often for the better. Anyway, tell me a bit about that journey.
Yeah, well, I'll try to describe it without talking about it too much in detail.
Yeah,
but,
I gotcha. Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of I guess company secrets, I guess. I don't know if that's the way
you don't
put
have
it,
to
at
give
least
away the secret sauce. That's totally fine.
Okay. But yeah, it really came out of the frustration of, I ran the books. For me, Mom Morning Teller, I did the books. And so I was the bookkeeper, and I could see, we earned a lot of money as an independent band. And then I earned a good living also as an independent artist, myself, solo artist. And I could see it was when basically my major pain point is the internet in general. Like, I don't want to sound like a grumpy old gal, but because I'm not. But I think I speak for all independent artists. So we're all grumpy about this. We're all grumpy about the internet. When the internet came in, late 90s, basically at the turn of the century, which was only 23 years ago, like the bottom, the value dropped out of music for a while. And the major labels have managed to somehow right the ship, and streaming's been a huge part of that. But independent artists have been basically left to flail and try to figure out this paradigm that was foisted upon them. while their livelihoods to a large degree, as far as it was selling, like selling records, or I remember looking at my box of CDs and going like, what am I going to do with this now that Napster's out and everyone can just like basically rip the music for free? And so this is the main pain point that I'm trying to resolve, is like the economic problem of the internet for independent musicians. So, it frustrates me to see my colleagues, fellow independent musicians, struggling financially in a paradigm where they do not, where they do not get paid what they should get paid for the work that they do. And this is where I am hoping that I know that the business model that I have is a solid one. I am finishing a master's degree in wealth management, where the thesis is on how NFTs are changing the business model for musicians. So there's a lot of study going on as far as financial models from an academic perspective on how musicians run their careers, and then in the history of the music industry where the values really are. So the idea with Mostrodarte overall is I'll just say it's supposed to be I'll say it this way. It's supposed to be an all-in-one platform that where the artists get the majority of the revenue that the company makes for the work that they put out, for the work that the artists put out. So whether it's streaming, the marketplace, or crowdfunding, like the artists can just come to this one place and do everything there. So that's really the concept of Mostrodarte. And for myself as an independent artist, it's the platform I would have wanted at the beginning of my career. I mean, I've done well in my career, but I would really like everyone that's an independent artist and that's got a thriving community following them to also do well. And the internet just doesn't support that right now.
That's really important. That I think one of the most interesting things you said was all in one, because I feel like artists, even those that are very open to Web3 or NFTs, are being sent to all sorts of different places. And it's so hard, not only for the artists to keep track of what's going on, but to bring the fans to all the places they need to go. Exactly. Even with things like Linkfire and, having a website, et cetera, it just feels like there's so much effort and there's so much friction to get people to go to the right places at the right time to do what you need them to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, this is sort of like it reduces the friction in the creative economy for an independent musician. This model of Mostrodarte does, and I'm working on building it out in a way that it's slow, because the regulations around specifically NFTs and how that could affect the marketplace of the platform is a real, that's an ongoing conversation internationally. And so it just makes sense to build the platform out brick by brick, really. So I've got one first product I'll be putting out soon, which is the NFT of the mascot of the platform. And that's Mo, the little monster. Now, Mostrodarte means art monster, as you said at the beginning. So Mo is the little blue monster. That's the mascot for the platform. And so the first NFT, the first product I want to put out for Mostrodarte is actually PFP that will basically be like, when you buy the PFP of Mo, you're basically buying a subscription for, you're buying a subscription, you're signing up as a subscriber as well to the platform once it's out later on in the year.
The 2023 Music Tectonics Conference is coming October 24th, 25th, and 26th in Santa Monica, California. This is our 5th annual conference, and we are making it our best yet. Our keynoter is Meng-Ru Kwok, CEO of BandLab, with a unique global perspective on how the convergence of music creator tools with the music industry is already shaping the future. Check out the growing speaker roster at our website, musictectonics.com, with music tech investors from firms like Sony Ventures, Plus8 Equity Partners, and Waverly Capital, and big thinkers from Spotify, Tidal, Splice, Lander, Billboard, and more. Hey, you're listening to this podcast. Don't you think you should be there too? Get your early bird ticket at musictectonics.com and join the music tech innovators. See you in Santa Monica.
And now back to the show.
I think it's so fascinating that you are all at simultaneously weaving all these academic studies of regarding wealth and economics, personal finance into, alongside launching a music project, which is very impressive, to put it lightly. How is music different from other art forms or entertainment forms, or I hate the word content, but content creation modalities, not to be too frou-frou about it, but is there something special about music that you feel it has been kind of overlooked or misunderstood in terms of translating what we all know is its deep worth to so many people into economic value? And you can speak abstractly. Again, I'm not asking for secret sauce here, but I'm just curious, what are the more philosophical underpinnings or thoughts you might have about that?
There's some really interesting conversations to be had around the value of music. And then if we talk about the different modalities or the different delivery systems or ways of sharing music. So, and digital seems to be actually, in some ways, it's the worst.
What
In
makes
some
you
ways,
think
it's
it's
the
the
worst.
worst?
Yeah, because when music becomes, it seems to be when music becomes ubiquitous, it loses its value, and that doesn't make much sense. So the internet has made
I agree.
music ubiquitous, and then it's also kind of stripped its value away. Then you can talk about community, the star power of the artist, or the enigma of the artist, and all of that, and the rest of that sort of, we could use the term again, secret sauce. But I'll give an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so I like to, in my research overall, whether it's for probing out the pain points for Mostrodarte and trying to resolve this problem of the internet for musicians while I'm building this platform, or whether it's just in the framework of the academic research that I'm doing for my master's thesis, I'm going in and talking to record shop owners. Okay, and so I'll be passing by a record shop. I'll go in and I'll talk to the person, the people working there, and ask them about vinyl market, local artists that might be, who are the artists that are doing vinyl, what's their experience in vinyl. And so I had a really interesting conversation just a couple of weeks ago with a record shop owner who said, he was he was in the market to buy this vinyl that was ultra rare of this old soul record that was like a Japanese pressing. You can listen to the record on Spotify all day long, no problem. But the vinyl was worth $2,000 to $3,000. So, because it's rare and there's only one. So it's the physical object that's worth a lot of money. But then, of course, you can listen to it on Spotify for free. Where there's some sort of interesting conversation to be had there about the value of the physical object, the physical representation of the music, or delivery system of the music, and then the digital one. And then there's also the conversation around NFTs and the value of, in the fine art market, of visual art NFTs, and then the value of music NFTs, which is completely different. So, I see artists that are putting out music NFTs for $5, $3. Well, we're back to the same thing of music basically not having much of a value that way. Whereas, Beeple or Bay-C or whatever, all these other NFTs can be in the hundreds of thousands or tens of millions of dollars. And there's got to be some correlations that have to be made between the fine art market and NFTs, visual NFTs, and music NFTs as well. There's a lot of conversations and deep thought that needs to go into how to basically probing the value out of these delivery systems to raise the value of the music, to raise the economic value of the music. I think we're getting there, and I think it's only going to be by trial and error, really. There's the other point also of when you're marketing in general to the public, are you marketing to everyone at a lower price, or are you marketing to a small group at a higher price? I think that that's also another conversation that, I think a lot that we're already having in general in media industries. But anyway, those are the three kind of points that I find really interesting, and finding the correlations there to try to figure out what model. I think I have some strategies in mind already that I don't want to talk about yet, because I'd like to try them out on the marketplace with the music NFTs and products and different kinds of collaborations and physical objects, limited edition physical things, whether it's vinyl or limited edition collections of, I'm talking about like sneaker collaborations with hip hop artists and things like that, like different ways of marketing product that seem maybe more exclusive. So that's really where my mind's at, is these puzzle pieces and kind of taking more of a macro, more bird's eye view of everything, and not so much the shiny object syndrome that I think is really what's going on a lot lately.
Well,
in the music industry.
2022 has kind of disavowed us, I think, of some of the shiny object aura around NFTs. And I think that's a really good thing, because I think there are really cool potential use cases for NFTs that we'll only explore if we have to ask hard questions and do, experiments where there are failures and things. Not that I wish failure on any music artist ever, but you know what I'm saying? I'm curious too. You mentioned things like vinyl collectors, and I think at first when people were talking about music NFTs, they were really thinking about it from a collector perspective. And then we shifted into all this talk about the nebulous world of utility, which remains really poorly defined, because we just don't have, ethnographic data, for lack of a better way to put it, about what use people find in NFTs. And in some ways you hinted at both, like there's some weird intersection of ownership, which I don't think is sufficient to get music fans excited, and the community aspect, which can be partly prestige, right? Prestige is like an offshoot of community, or it can be we're all in this together and we want to make something together, kind of with the creative vision of an artist at the helm. I don't know. I'm just curious what you think about that, like how ownership and community can intersect in ways that might prove more beneficial to better music.
I mean, I'll just say my answer is Kiss Army. Like
exactly, or the Grateful Dead, right?
Old school. Yeah, like when you were excited to be a fan in a fan club, and you had your patch that they sent you. You'd send in, whatever your your membership form, and this is the same thing. Now you're buying the NFT that's got like that's your membership form. It's like buying the NFT, and then you've got the perks that come with that, and the community that you're part of. And I think that it's like there's so many old school things and I think this is where like my Gen X punk rock DIY roots come into play, like that. There's so much of that experience that is so easily translatable into the digital experience with NFTs and that kind of excitement and fun of being a fan and being able to have a voice and being part of the community with the fans and discussion with the artist and the collaborations that can happen like that. I mean, I think it's easier. It's when I think about it that way, it becomes really, really clear to me and becomes much simpler to execute.
Cool. So can you talk a little bit about how you landed on NFTs and blockchain for this particular project? There are ways to imagine doing it without it, but I'm sure you picked the technology for a reason.
I did. So the main reason is because it's proven to be, at least currently, it's as far as products that artists can sell, it's got the largest profit margin, potential profit margin of any product that an artist can sell. Otherwise artists are mainly making their money either playing live or licensing, right? Like that's where a lot of income is coming in. But for those that are able to go out and play live or to get their music licensed. But other than that, it's really music NFT. So that's why it's pretty much the first topic or first article that's part of the Mostrodarte model that I would like to address. It's not it's only one article of many that will be available on the platform, because it's a physical and digital marketplace as part of the business model. So whether it's vinyl or merch or whatever, like that'll be on the platform as well. But this pain point or big question mark around NFTs and Web3 for independent artists is the one that I want to resolve. And the second part of my answer is that you and I had the pleasure of meeting at South by Southwest this year. And at South by Southwest, I met a lot of independent artists, and everyone I spoke to, when I would mention NFTs, their eyes glossed over, like they just
Oh man.
Yeah, and I also led a group of independent artists that would meet on Zoom every couple of weeks as part of Patreon. Because I'm on Patreon as well, and so it was a bunch of Patreon singer-songwriters on Patreon that I'd meet with, and we were a group of about 50. When I'd mention NFTs on the calls, except for one, they'd all go nope. So why? Why don't we figure this thing out about NFTs for the majority of independent artists? And I know that probably a lot of listeners to this podcast are, into NFTs, and there are artists that are already delving into NFTs, but the majority of artists are not, and because they're overwhelmed already with what they have to do, and they don't necessarily see the clear value. Also, the onboarding, just getting the wallet and all of that together is complicated. So I just want to delve into the topic of NFTs and address that first, because it's the most interesting and the most potentially financially rewarding.
It's also cool to think about getting like a wider range of artists putting out NFTs. I mean, I know that artists of all kinds are getting stuff out there, but it seems like the overwhelming majority makes a very specific kind of music. And, it's good to get a wider range of representation of sounds.
Yeah, also it's true. I haven't thought about that. So yeah, I know that it's mostly electronic music, like EDM and hip hop, rap that have been leading the way, right? As far as genres in the NFT space. And my thought is actually both of those types of music are made more or less on computer. I mean, well, EDM is made on computers. It's made digitally, and hip hop as well, to a large degree, is made on computers. Other forms of music aren't. So the further you get away, like when you get into more analog instruments, I think that there's that kind of psychological separation. It's okay, well, I'm an analog musician and here's another digital product I need to get into. Whereas if you're already making your music on your computer, like it's your music language. It's your musical language. So I think that there's maybe more of an affinity to get into music NFTs because of the genres. That's just a thought that I have. I don't know that I haven't research that, but that's just my observation.
That's a really good theory, though. I think we often tend to talk about the technical barriers, but we don't talk about the cultural barriers that prevent people from participating or engaging with different technologies. So I think that's a really good point. I mean, if you're like, it's me and my clarinet, dude, I don't need your weird file format or whatever, your blockchain crypto stuff, right? You could really feel it could be very alienating to hear that.
Exactly.
Even if if it were phrased a different way, you'd be like, oh, cool, I can like package up my music in a way and put anything I want in there, and it's almost like a little gift box that I can give to a fan in exchange for a certain amount of money or something. I don't know. It is a really interesting question. So what do you feel like is lacking for these artists who are struggling to wrap their brains around NFTs or Web3 or some of these new opportunities? I mean, what do you think? Are there things on the technological side you feel like could be solved and they don't have to directly relate to your company? Whether it's like MetaMask should be easier to use or, that people should feel a little bit more comfortable like buying their first little bit of crypto so that they can pay for gas fees or whatever it is, which was for me one of the biggest barriers. Like, I gotta buy $25 worth of ETH just to like click on this, thingy dingy that my friend wants me to get. I mean, what are the technological barriers? Are there some additional cultural barriers that you've seen as you've talked to artists that you really feel like as an industry we can address and ease people through, for their own benefit?
Well, I'd say it's all of the above. The first thing is as soon as it becomes easy, like grandma can buy an NFT. That's
I mean, that's sort of me. You're talking about me right now.
That's how easy it is. What's that?
I said you're talking about me basically right now.
Well, when it gets to that point, that's when that's when the artists will all be on this like white on rice. But until then, it's the same conversations that I see happening at the Web3 or NFT conferences that I've been to, which is basically education and adoption, that it needs to become easier. The process needs to become easier to get your wallet together, to buy an NFT, to mint them, like all of the above. So I know that these are things that many companies and startups are working on day in, day out, to improve the experience. And I think the other issue is also just the regulations around these things. I think that the image of crypto, blockchain, and so by association, NFTs have taken a hit with the scandals that have happened in the last year or so, whether it's FTX and all that. So I think that they're a little wary, from what I can see and the conversations I've had, it's, let the Web3 crowd figure all this out and the governments figure out how they're going to regulate this stuff and tax me on it or whatever, that then they'll get further into it. I think we're still, I hope that we're not more than a year out. I imagine that at this point, it seems like we'll be a couple of years out until we can fully, get full integration of more artists participating in Web3.
And thinking about it from the artist's perspective, once we've broken through the technological barrier, what kind of creativity do you hope to see? I feel there's been a little bit of a copy-paste tendency, right? We're still thinking about things in terms of singles and drops and yet an NFT could be anything, right? You could have audio, visuals, all sorts of cool stuff combined. And you could have as long or as short of an audio file as you wished. All sorts of cool possibilities that really blow open, what music could be. Are you, have you heard any thoughts about that? Do you have any of your own thoughts or dreams about where we could go with some of this? What's the sort of blue sky vision for how music and NFTs might play well together?
Well, for music and NFTs specifically, I would say I got to go larger than that and just say Web3, VR, metaverse, all that. And that's, for me, the vision of Mostrodarte that's my blue sky vision is Mostrodarte, and all of that encapsulates all those things. What I mean by that is, I'll start with this data point that I'd heard actually at a conference at South by, which is that music is still considered a real driver of innovation. And so I think that there's a huge opportunity for digital innovation with music as the driver. In other words, an artist communicates with the community and says, I want to do, I'm thinking about doing this metaverse experience, and, you can buy, I'm pre-selling NFTs for it or whatever, like these kinds of more really wide open conversations between the artist and their community, and basically digital entertainment platforms and companies that can develop incredibly cool metaverses or virtual reality experiences, or and I don't even know, other things that we don't even know that could exist in the future. And I think that that's where it is. I think it's music as a driver of digital innovation and digital entertainment. That's what I see, and and I think it's much more of an open conversation and an open investment, also on the financial side from third parties, investors, fans that can all participate to create these works and experiences around an artist's piece of music or album or whatever. And I think that that's what I see as a much more collaborative, innovative sort of paradigm, and where the artist is really, because of the blockchain and the transparency that can come along with redesigning a whole new business model for independent artists, not just because of the blockchain, but just basically like really just being more transparent in general, blockchain or no blockchain, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3. This is where the artist could be at the center of being also the economic driver and be earning more money for the work that they do.
Wow, that's really great. Thanks for sharing all of this with us, Kim. And we will share where you can find hopefully everyone's future favorite art monster, Mostrodarte, in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tristra. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know we do free monthly online events that you, our lovely podcast listeners, can join? Find out more at musictectonics.com. And while you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference and sign up for our newsletter to get updates. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform. Connect with me, Dimitri Vitsa, if you can spell it. We'll be back again next week, if not sooner.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.